Hello, and thank you for being with me again. Today I wanted to talk about the event in the 12th chapter of Luke's Gospel when it seems that Jesus is not very concerned with fairness at first sight. What happens is this young man comes up to Jesus and says, "Lord, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." And Jesus merely replies, "Who made me the judge of these things between you?" And so one could look at this and say, is Jesus then not concerned about fairness, that if this was part of the inheritance due to that person, that he should have intervened? But you see, what Jesus goes on to talk about is to show the problem of riches and how they can pull us down. But he wants to show that because he's aiming for a much bigger solution to the problem. You see, we can go to court about disputes we have with people, and the court can decide, and one party can walk out feeling justified and happy with the outcome, and most probably the other one walks out feeling less happy with the outcome. And this is not part of God's plan. The fact is that we are called to look at things further than that when we have disputes with someone, when we have differences of opinion and so on. And so what Jesus is getting at is that he's not looking to resolve the short-term thing of what happens about this inheritance, as much as he's concerned with showing how these disputes should not arise between us, because the relationship with those around us should be far more important than the money involved. Fairness should come out of the hearts of both parties involved in doing what's right mutually, and that should be the outcome, and that would be what we like to call a win-win situation. So am I saying then that the law courts are not necessary or shouldn't exist? Well, that's not what I'm saying. Unfortunately, we obviously do need law courts because we're not good at settling these things on that basis. What I'm saying though is that this is what Jesus points to as the solution to these problems, that we grow in our understanding and our acceptance of how we should really live in all circumstances. You see, the courts are necessary, and they would be necessary even if we did start to understand this teaching more and live it, because the courts should really be there to be sure that nobody is unfairly penalized. Legislation obviously can only be made in a general sort of a way, but then circumstances can mean that one person is punished far more by that law than another person, and that's where the law court should be somewhere that they can go to put their case and say, but this penalizes me a lot more than other people, and be heard and then therefore be helped in some way. A very simple example of this would be what people very often don't think about is traffic fines. Traffic fines are things we sort of take for granted, but of course they don't punish everyone equally. For example, I'm a pensioner on a very small pension. Now if I go and I get a fine for €100 for an offence, and another person who, and this is very possible, earns 10 times what I do, gets a fine for €100 for the same offence, equivalently to them, it would be the same as me getting a fine of €10 and not €100. And so really the punishment that I suffer is far greater than the punishment they would suffer for the same offence. And this is, as I say, where courts could come in if we have important things of that sort that come about where one party is penalized unfairly in comparison to how much other parties are penalized. The fact, as I say, of Jesus' response though is to call us to this understanding that above all we need to work on how we see each other and how we treat each other. We should be called to look at the other person with compassion and to understand their point of view. That doesn't mean being a doormat and just letting people make you do whatever they want to do. This is a thing that should be on both sides, both on your side and on the other side. The fact is that That's not going to happen all the time, but your side can be fair. The other person may not accept it, the other person may want to contest it, but what's important to you should be that your side is fair. It's an interesting thing, as I say in this same chapter, Jesus goes on to talk about the trap of riches, and it's a very interesting thing in our world to see just how important riches are to us. And we all know that if someone particularly rich comes along, they're usually treated very differently from just an ordinary person or a poor person. And this is just the way we are as a society. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And so what we need to come to understand is that, if a rich person needs something and they need something from us, we are there to serve them, but not because they're more important than other people, but rather because they're a person, and as such, as a child of God, deserve to be treated properly. And as I say, we need to apply the same thing to those who have less wealth, and to see that they too are children of God and need to be treated properly. The fact is that all of us, including you, are children of God, created by Him and put in this world to grow in His likeness. And His likeness demands that we see the importance of each other, and we treat each other with respect, and we do all we can to be sure that we try to be fair in our lives and to treat others with that fairness, because we respect them and we have Christian love for them. And so I pray that this will help you in understanding Jesus' response to this sort of question, which obviously we may take to Him in prayer at times, and to see the importance of your growth in this regard, that whatever you do is done justly and honestly, and that your part of any conflict is fair. And may God bless you. Thank you.